What's up, besties? I hope you're having an astonishing day. So today I'm feeling confident and I want to talk about how I improved my art, and I did it without drawing every day, because at least some of this advice is something I didn't hear when I needed it. So I just want to tell you now. Hopefully it will be useful to someone. And also maybe talk a bit about advice that I find bad. And I'm not really doing it in a, oh, I'm so perfect, I've reached the top of my skills, so now I will bless you with my knowledge way. I just think there are some advice going around that aren't that good, and that people who are beginners listen to, and it doesn't really benefit them. Here I'm drawing a character from a Draw It in a Style challenge by my mutual Anima Animations, and I'm saying this at the beginning of this video and at the end because I forgot to put their post on the screen at the beginning of drawing, and I don't want anybody to just stop watching before it pops up thinking this is my character. It is not. Once again, the creator is Anima Animations. The character's name is Dracia, and I think the design is really cool. Obviously, the art style is much simpler than mine, so I had to make a few changes, but I really enjoyed the process, since I usually don't put that much attention in my character's clothes. I mean, I try to make it like seem realistic, but if you saw that on a real person, the outfits wouldn't really be outstanding. I feel like I should probably work on this more. But here there's just a lot going on. It was really fun. Please go to Anima's socials. Their designs are really cool. But let's get back to the main topic. First, I feel like debunking the just practice advice that goes hand in hand with the draw every day advice, because I feel like we've all heard the just practice if you want to get better. I mean, practice what? How? Because if you don't tell me, I will just keep drawing and making the same mistakes. And with drawing every day, very few people actually have time to sit and mindfully draw. And I really mean with putting their mind to it, not just to be done with the challenge for today. I mean, I've done like Inktober and Mermaid before. They were fun, don't get me wrong, but if you just sit every day and do the same thing, how do you expect to have a different result exactly? And I think like sitting down to draw like once a week, but instead of like for 15 minutes, for like, I don't know, an hour or two, it's much more beneficial, and you really need to like put your mind into it. Like, as I've said, you can't just repeat the thing you keep on doing every single time. Like, you have to try to challenge yourself. If you want to change something about the way you draw, obviously you don't have to change something in every single drawing of yours. Like, you don't need to do this whole hustle culture thing. I think this is just going to lead to burnout, but yeah, repeating the same thing over and over again isn't that useful. Now, the way I like to exercise, and I feel like that will work no matter your art style, is to keep in mind some sort of goal of a drawing. For example, I don't know, just a portrait, and break it down. Also, it's great to have references. Obviously, when you're just doodling, you don't need them, or when you've drawn something so many times that you can draw it without a reference and you're happy with the results, that's great. But how are you supposed to know how something looks without just actually looking at it, you know? In our minds, we have like these symbols, these pictograms maybe would be a better word. Like, we imagine an eye to have this shape, a mouth maybe to have this shape, a cat to look like this, and so on and so forth. That's how we perhaps learn to draw them when we were little. Like, just by learning to make them out of like very simple shapes, like learning it by heart. And instead of seeing actual shapes, we see just these pictograms. And obviously, if you like to draw it like this, you don't need to change that. There is no such thing as a worse or better art style. But I feel like this is where we all started, and many people don't really want their art to look like this. And in my mind, I have this image just broken down into smaller parts, and I think to myself, can I draw eyes that look like this? Can I draw lips that look like this? And so on. And if the answer is no, that obviously just doesn't mean that I should just give up. But there I should give some extra credit to that. I may just take a separate page in a sketchbook and try to figure it out there using the reference as a guide. And then even if I'm not that great at it yet, I can just do this whole portrait and focus on what I am and what I am not satisfied with, and embrace the good parts and try to study the parts I don't like further. I don't know, this sounds very simple and obvious that, if you can't draw an important part of your drawing, you will not like how the whole thing looks. If I want to draw a face that have eyes, but I can't draw eyes, that means I can't really draw that face. Yeah, that sounds obvious, but I'm not too bright, so it took me a long time to get this. But also, and this might be a bit contrary, don't be too much of a perfectionist. As I've said, even if you don't feel confident about something, draw it anyways. Eventually, you will figure out what you're doing wrong or how to improve this. A lot of things do actually come with time. And when you have the mental energy for it, just experiment with new things and see what sticks. I came up with the white outline because I wanted to make a funky piece. I didn't know I like it so much. I will use it for nearly every drawing after the first one. For a short period of time, I thought I'll make red lines a part of my style because I saw someone else doing that, and it looked great with their art, but it didn't work with mine the way I wanted it. Also, just look what other people are doing. Like, art style theft isn't really a thing. This was a whole discussion some time ago, but I don't think it's a thing. And it's very unlikely that, as a creative person, you will just copy someone else's entire art style without changing anything about it anyway. Because I feel like this sort of inspiration isn't about redrawing someone else's pieces, it's just about taking things from them that you like and somehow incorporating them into what you're making. Just experiment in general with different techniques, medium. Maybe just do mixed media. I like doing mixed media. You can like a bunch of different things, and just from time to time switch on techniques. Like right now, I'm mostly doing digital art, but hey, I can sit down to do some watercolors. I can sit down to do some markers. I have crayons, but I don't really feel like using crayons, but I like doing it. It just takes a long time, and I've lost some of that patience I had back when I was using them more often. Also, and this might be a hot take, the supplies do matter. Like cheap watercolors and crayons that are made for kids really discouraged me for a long time from these mediums. And honestly, I still can't make them look as good as the real thing. And when I got my hands on something decent, I just really fell in love with these techniques. So, like, if you don't like them, perhaps it's just because you didn't have the right materials. And you really don't need to get the most expensive and professional things either. When it comes to watercolor, I've used the student set from Winsor & Newton and White Knights. by St. Petersburg. I love both, but I would recommend the latter because it's both cheaper and perhaps a bit more pigmented. Though I don't think buying anything Russian right now is a good idea. And when it comes to crayons, I've used the ones from Chameleon, and they're nice. And I have a few from Karandash, and they're just top tier, but they're also very expensive. Unfortunately, good art supplies often are expensive. And I know that, unfortunately, not everyone is able to afford them. Some people are capable of making nice art with the cheap stuff, that's like for little kids. Or like using MS Paint, I think everyone saw that one, Santa Claus speed paint. And that's probably why so many people say that it's all about skill, you don't need the expensive stuff. Like, I think that technically you don't need it, but I also think that for the beginner, it's really discouraging. Especially that you don't have much experience with the medium yet, and now you have to just overcome this additional obstacle of it not having much pigment. I don't know, I feel like it would even be better to just stick to pencils or some charcoal or some cheaper fine liners, because these are not that expensive, like pencil or charcoal, than to bother with the cheap colorful stuff. You can make some really cool art like this too, and then perhaps crumble a bit money for something that people recommend using. Yeah, I really do not know how to make like watercolors that have no pigmented. Like, how people are doing that is beyond me. Like, good for them, but how? Another advice I've heard a lot that I don't think is as universal as people who give it think it is that first you need to learn realism, and then you can start stylizing. But honestly, I think it's best to just do a bit of both if you're interested in creating stylized art, because stylizing is a whole additional skill. Like, my art style is very like close to semi-realism, so I don't think I need to like study a lot about stylizing. But if you want to make something more cartoony, you know, just knowing your realism won't really make you able to do that. Also, when it comes to references, because I've mentioned that and then just skipped it and went ahead. It's better to use photos than other people's drawings or paintings. Plus, if you're just redrawing something, you need to credit the original creator if you want to like post it somewhere. Because I think like recreating someone else's art just by making a copy can be a good exercise, but you know, it's not really your art what you've created, it's just a copy of someone else's. So if you want to share this as like a look at my skill at creating this, not really at my creative process, then you know, you should tell who the original creator is. If you can't find a photo of a particular pose or expression, just try photographing yourself. You would be surprised how much of my style is auto-portraits. Also, it's good to use multiple references per piece. I usually have like at least 5 or 6. You know, a separate one for face, for body, for hair. Here I have wings also. I have one for shoes, I think, because the original design doesn't have shoes, but I didn't want to draw feet because the feet people made showing feet online awkward. But I can't just come up with how shoes look on spot and so on. Really, the more the better. Some time ago, I realized that I probably have aphantasia, which is a lack of ability to create pictures in your mind. Like when people were talking about picturing things, I thought that's just a metaphor, but the internet informed me that it's not. Usually I don't like to self-diagnose because there are a few hypochondriacs in my family and I just don't want to act like them. But I can't even imagine a color, let alone any image, so I'd say I'm pretty confident with this one. And I think it makes drawing more fun because if I don't do detailed thumbnails, which I usually don't, I know that it's very useful, but I'm also very lazy. I don't know how my drawing will look until I'm close to being done. No, without the ability to actually picture anything, I just conceptualize instead. And here's where they breaking the image down into many pieces is so useful for me because I just have a bunch of elements and connect them, and I don't need to have this whole image in my mind. I just can decide in my head that I just want to, I don't know, have yellow eyes, blue skin, and I want this piece to have a long flowy dress, and the dress is white. I don't know. I wanted to have a sword and wings and some horns. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up as I go. But I will just like imagine a set of characteristics I want my character to have. You know, a set of characteristics I want the drawing to have just in general, and go off of that and find the suitable references for these characteristics. When it comes to colors, it's worth to know at least a bit of color theory. I am not a good teacher on the color theory, but you can search it up. I like contrasting colors, for example, and knowing which ones contrast best is important. I don't know, just look at the color wheels, just pick a right one and, you know, you'll see. But choosing the palette depends on what you're making. Actually, you don't need to always choose what creates a bigger contrast. Often you're going to just go for what seems more natural to the image. You can even put like some other picture you like into one of these apps that just create color palettes and use that as your color palette. And the last thing would be receiving criticism from others. If someone criticizes something you like about your art, just dismiss that. If you like it, that means it's fine. If someone tells you to just go back to the fundamentals without any further explanation, I know there are people in Poland who do that, including one big YouTuber. I'm not sure how communities, like, just in general, also dismiss that. What does that even mean? Just tell me what is wrong and what I should improve. Like, don't tell me like everything is wrong. Like, certainly there is something in there. But you know, if someone is nice to you and they're telling you what exactly you could improve and how you could improve it, like, that's great. You can use that. But like, and that goes to everybody, including people that are like very skilled already. Don't criticize other people's skill if they're not asking for it. It's rude. Like, I get criticizing the message behind the art or something, but not the technique. I'm for one always open to these sorts of comments, but not everyone has to be, and that's fine. Art is supposed to make you happy. I'm honestly tired of this whole hustle culture ruining our fun. Let's just slow down. Not every one of our drawings has to be the best one we've made so far. Mistakes happen, but they're fine. We can learn from them and move on. Everyone progresses at their own pace. There is not much sense in just comparing ourselves to others. Let's just all chill and make whatever we like and however we like. I don't know, let's be nice to each other, maybe. That should be a common sense thing, you know. But yeah, I think that's all for me now. I hope at least something that I've said was useful. If you disagree on something or you have any more advice regarding art in general or this piece I'm making here. I'd love it if you left your opinion in the comment section down below. And for now, just stay safe, stay hydrated, wear a mask in places where masks should be worn, and peace.